far, so can't get a picture. Let's see, we've got a good number of folks, but we'll give it another, well, we'll definitely give it a few minutes. I see it's only 3:58. But now I'm scared to talk because the recording was started. We can cut that out though, can't we? Senator, where is the family home? In Cedar Woolley, in the area?
Cedar Woolley zip code, it's Alger.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
For a time, no electricity, no running water, no indoor plumbing.
Wow.
But it
I
taught me what you can do without and still be happy. So,
totally. Mine was in Woodstock, New York. House didn't have any doors and just plywood floors, you know. My dad was just kind of getting around to things, you know. Takes a while to get around to certain things. Let's see, do we see Representative Eslick?
I haven't seen her pop in yet.
Okay, we'll start pretty quick. Yeah, I just will adjust the order. We are going to start with the 39th district, then go to the 10th, and then the 40th.
Hey there, and just a reminder, I do need to leave a little ahead of 5.
Okay,
So
so thank
I'm
you.
currently sitting out in the parking lot in front of my doctor's appointment to maximize time.
And smart. It's the way to do it. And I know that Representative Rammel will be coming on a little bit later. Well, I think we should get started in the interest of time. Thank you, legislators, for joining us. Thank you for what you do. I just as we were chatting at the beginning of this, I can hardly imagine that the big run up to the session, and then it's full sprint from there, as I understand. And it's a short session, so I think that probably means running even harder. So it is so appreciated what you do. Thanks also for the people participating, joining us on Zoom this afternoon. I am Andy Mayer, by the way, the president and CEO of the Mount Vernon Chamber of Commerce, and we have our, I don't know who all we have, but the Skagit Chamber Alliance is composed of all of the 6 chambers in the county. That's Anacortes, Burlington, Concrete, LaConner, Mount Vernon, and Cedar Woolley. We represent all told 1,400 some unique businesses in our region. And our purpose, as you no doubt know, is to work together for the interests of our members, our communities, and the future of Skagit County. Pretty straightforward agenda. We will start with the legislators talking about their priorities, and to the extent that they would like, addressing the Skagit Chamber Alliance priorities that I've shared with you, which are, this is the short list. We have an expanded one as well. Those are expanding housing options to support families and workforce development, addressing the rising cost of doing business in Washington, and workforce development and infrastructure. Let's see, as far as the timing, it will be 4 minutes per legislator to give their initial thoughts on priorities, and then we will take questions from the audience. Please put in the chat if you have a question so that we're aware of that. We will we're fine with you asking your question verbally. You don't have to, I mean, even though it's in the chat, you may ask the question, but please keep it to a minute if you can. Sometimes I understand that there's some information that you want to get across to the legislators, and that's okay. So a little statement's okay, but I think they will hear the intent of your statement and question in a minute, and that'll give us more time for them to respond. So with that, oh, and we are for the legislators, the agenda that I sent out said that we were going until 5:30. We are not. That was from a previous agenda allowing for some time at the end when we were going to be in person. So we will adjourn at 5. So with that, let's start with the 39th district. Senator Wagner, the floor is yours, please.
Oh, well, thank you. Always fun to kick things off. Senator Keith Wagner, 39th District. I've already been introduced. I sit on Ways and Means Committee, Law and Justice Committee, and Ag and Natural Resources, among other. I'm also the Minority Whip. So going back to Olympia, we have some serious challenges, which you all know. Um, I think I warned about some of these possibilities that have come to fruition now at the end of the last session, that the budget was not done in a manner that my side of the aisle thought was going to work. And here we are a year later with a big hole in our budget. So that's the problem. It doesn't really do anybody any good to say, we told you so. And I need to go and work in a space where I can have success. So, as a member of the minority, what I am focusing my effort on, my key bill, is a way to get money to local government. And I've been working this for several years, trying to get liquor revenue and cannabis revenue returned or a bigger share returned to local government for 2 or 3 sessions without much success. Well, now that we have a big hole in the budget, that will not work because that money right now goes to the general fund, which is already underfunded. So I have tried a different approach. Uh, what I have proposed is the ability for local government to have a sales tax increase on cannabis products of 2%. Um, I'm not a big fan of increasing taxes, but I think this is a place where it's reasonable. It will not fill local government's bucket, but it will certainly make a dent and make things a little bit easier for local government. I think maybe if you're a cannabis user or a cannabis seller, you're going to have some reservations or may just not like the idea at all. But we have to get money from somewhere, and I think our property tax is tapped out, our business and occupation tax is tapped out. We've gone so far in other areas. I think this is kind of like a last resort that I think would have bipartisan acceptance, and maybe some of my friends on the other side of the aisle will comment on that. Hopefully, they're on my side. So that's going to be the one thing that I would like to achieve more than any. And how much time do I have? I want to. Andy is looking. I'll keep talking. Um, a
Oh,
bill
sorry,
that's
a minute and 15 seconds.
okay. A bill that has sort of a local connection that doesn't have anything to do with budgeting is a bill that I'm proposing that deals with Northern State and the records and artifacts from Northern State that are held by the Secretary of State in the Archives Office. A lot of those things may go away if we don't do something. So I have a bill that will at least allow a study to catalog and identify what we have that relates to the Northern State facility. And then in the future, we'll look at how we can preserve that because that takes money. And this time around, anything that costs money is not going to go well. And I'll end with a bit of a sour note. I just saw a study that shows, because you are chamber people, Washington State is dead last in the nation for fertile ground for new businesses. We are dead last. Only 41% of businesses that start up in Washington last 5 years. or more, which would be one thing if we had a high above the average number starting up, but we don't. We A decade ago, we were in the top five for new businesses, but now we're at the bottom. So that is, I think, a stark reminder that everything is not well and that we need to make some changes to keep businesses alive and let new startups thrive in Washington because it's not happening now. And I'll end there. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Wagner. Let's go to Representative Vesic, please.
I think I'm unmuted. Thank you.
Yeah.
Carolyn Eslick, reporting to you from Sultan, Washington on Highway 2, which has been closed since the floods on the east side of our pass. And I am on Education Committee, Capital Budget, and Children, Youth, and Family. Those are my normal everyday committees. But you know, after you've been in this service as many years as I have been now, this will be my 8th session, that they keep piling on the subcommittees. So I can't even tell you how many I'm on now, but they all normally are associated with my Family, Youth, and Children's committee. So they fit well. What I'm working on this year is child care providers have, because of our House Bill 1648 that Representative Dent sponsored and I co-sponsored, to look at the education requirements for the child care providers. They did pass that. We really wanted it to be more comprehensive, but we only got the education piece. So what's happened is that it has postponed that big new education piece that our child care providers were going to have to get into place. And that's really a great thing. I've been going over several new child care bills from myself and Representative Callan and Ortiz Self on changes for our child care providers, so it makes it easier for them to do business. That pleases me. That the big it was all about child care last year in our session, and in my opinion, and so the noise really made a difference. Can't thank our people enough for coming in and Zooming testimony. Very, very helpful. I am supporting Representative Penner's bill, co-sponsoring it, the B&O tax relief for businesses that are willing to sponsor childcare in their business or allocate some money towards the parents that work for them for childcare. So watch that bill. That hopefully will get some traction this year. I'm working hard on private-public partnerships because we have finished funding the North Star, and I think it opened. I think we opened in December. The building that we built, Washington State built a couple of years ago in Vancouver, called the Brockman Mental Hospital, 48 beds, like our one up in Skagit. We didn't fund it to operate it, so it's sitting there empty, but it's costing us $600,000 a year to keep it warm and security. So I introduced a private company to it. We then had a meeting with the governor's office to ask them if they could apply and run the facility. They asked for a proposal, so that was a big first step for them. I see that that's going to be more and more of our social services are going to be public-private partnerships to make them work, because I'm going to be fighting like crazy to keep the programs we have afloat this year as they're trying to cut many, many things. I have some ideas on where they can cut. Some folks don't agree with me, but you know, I'm all about empowering people, not just housing people, but housing with empowerment. So that's my stand on some of the budget items. You know, I went to the lobbyist meeting yesterday via Zoom about there's looking at we're talking about the tax on plastic bags. It did go up again this year in January, and now there's talk about doing away with plastic bags. I don't mind that, but on the other hand, that is another big, huge expense. So be watching that. They're looking at making it paper only. Another conversation that's going to happen this year down there. I was on the education funding committee. It was a task force or work group to look at do we need to change the way we're funding our education system? And guess what? Out of that 5, 6 meetings, we determined we need to do that. We need to look at funding education in Washington State a different way. So that bill will be coming forward to ask for another task force for a 2-year task force instead of a 6 months workshop. So at least we're moving in the right direction, in my opinion, to be really looking at how we can fund education differently in Washington State.
But Representative Bessick, let me stop you there.
Yeah.
It's a good topic.
Was all that my time limit?
It's crazy, I know.
Okay.
Let's go to Representative Lowe, please.
Well, good afternoon, Representative Sam Lowe, 39th District. What an honor it is to represent East Skagit County and in the legislature. And my heart breaks for what our businesses and community have put up with for the last month with all the flooding and things going on. And I've been with the governor 4 times in the last 4 weeks in different communities in both Skagit and Snohomish counties. I've been with people who have having part of their farm washed away. I was in Hamilton when I saw, I think, the local bar there with all the bar stools outside and tables. And so, we have people and businesses that are hurting in Skagit County right now. I do serve on the Housing Committee. I'm the ranking member for our side of the aisle on housing. I'm the #2 member on transportation issues. And I've enjoyed serving with Rep. Paul on transportation issues. And then I'm also on the Healthcare and Wellness Committee. So pretty well-rounded in Olympia. I've already passed 9 bills into law in my 3 years. I've got several bills I'm working on for this next session. I'm working on a bill to deal with agritourism issues. Agritourism, our farmers, they're small businesses too. They need help. They need to make sure that they can survive so that they don't have to turn their farmlands into housing. Housing is important, but we don't need to take away good farmland to put in housing. I'm also working with the Traffic Safety Commission on a bill to deal with some traffic safety issues. We've seen deaths on our highways come down a little bit, but they're still unacceptable. And my work on transportation really pushes me to continue to work on traffic safety issues. I have an open space bill. I got one passed this last year. I kind of got Open Space 2.0 that I'm working on. And then one of the ones that's going to be really near and dear to my heart is students with firearms. We had a situation right on the border of the 39th and the 10th district with a student who brought a loaded weapon to school, and basically how that student is treated, how that student is integrated back into the school. There's definitely some holes there. And so I've put forward a bill to try to address keeping the public safe, keeping our students safe, but also making sure that we don't forget about the student too. And so I think I've got the right tone and tenor with that bill, but we'll see as that goes through the legislative process this year. But I appreciate our small businesses. I enjoy working with our small businesses, and feel free to invite me out to one of your businesses. Love to see what you're doing. Obviously, we're going to be busy the next 2 months in Olympia, but once session's over, happy to come out and see how I can be a help to you and to your businesses. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Lowe. Let's go to Representative Paul in the 10th District, please.
Sorry, looking for him in the the squares.
Your time
There
is
we
up,
go.
Representative.
Sorry about that. Hey folks, I'm Dave Paul, represent the 10th District. My wife and I live in Oak Harbor, and I work at Skagit Valley College while I'm not in the legislature. Really appreciate the opportunity to talk to folks this afternoon. And my priorities, I focus primarily are a lot on higher education, on post-secondary education. And I'm now chair of the House Post-Secondary Education Workforce Training Committee. And want to make sure that we are keeping college and post-secondary education, anything after high school, affordable. We've made a lot of great progress on keeping tuition in check over the last decade and expanding financial aid through the Washington College Grant. That's really in danger in this budget cycle where we have seen the Workforce Investment Act, which pays for all that great work, been rated for general fund needs. And I'm going to really work over the next 60 days to help try to stop that. We want to keep our colleges as affordable as possible for our students. I think that's really important for chamber members also because of that pipeline for that workforce training directly into your companies and businesses. It's really an honor to serve with Sam Lowe on transportation, Carolyn Eslick on transportation, and Alex Rammel's also on that committee. And I really appreciate the governor's perspective and focus on maintenance and preservation in this budget. And, our bridges and roads, we need to be spending more money on that preservation. And our ferry system, of course, is in great need of repair. And so appreciate that budget includes a pathway for funding 3 more ferries after the 3 that are currently funded. Lastly, I'll just mention the terrible flooding we saw in both Skagit and Snohomish County. The governor must like Rep. Lowe better than me because I only saw him once. But that shows the work that our state can do working with local partners to help reduce the impact of those floods and prepare for that flooding so that flood wall in Mount Vernon did exactly what it's supposed to be doing. I was back over there today in Mount Vernon and they're putting it back up. The river's rising and they've got it going back up. The work we did on making sure that everybody could talk to each other and the communication structure is really important in our community. So I want to continue to work on that. And lastly, something that is of interest to the chamber is working with Senator Riccelli on a hospitality bill, a tourism hospitality bill that will allow the industry to self-assess. And then that money can be spent to bring folks into our state. I think that's especially important for economic development. Seems to be a bipartisan approach. Well, Rep. Steele being the number 2 on the House side and brought to us by industry. And looking forward to your questions later in the hour.
Thank you, Representative Paul. Let's go to the 40th and Senator Loveland, please.
Okay, I was trying to mute while you were unmuting me. So hi there, Liz Loveland, representing the 40th District out of Anacortes. I'm the Deputy Majority Leader of the Senate, and I serve as the Vice Chair of Local Government on Energy, Environment, and Technology, and with Rep. Paul, chair the Ferry Legislator Subcaucus out of the Transportation Committee. I'll try to stick to issues that were identified in your legislative agenda with policies and behind-the-scenes stuff that I'm working on. So a couple of bills related to housing. I've been working for about a year with Builders Association, master builders, other land use and planning professionals, the cities, the counties, and environmental organizations around how to improve our subdivision process and how to achieve some economies of scale of getting subdivisions approved more quickly so that we can continue to add value to projects and help make sure that they're getting built quickly and less expensively so we can get more workforce housing built. I'll be partnering with Rep. Lowe on continuing and hopefully getting to the finish line this year, a policy around rural ADUs. We know that our unincorporated county areas do need a bit of housing as well, and so have really worked hard over the last several years to try to thread the needle to make sure that we're not subverting the GMA, but also allowing for some flexibility in our land use in rural areas. This year again, I will be bringing back my short-term rental excise tax bill. One of the things I hear consistently from businesses and from locals, especially in areas that have a lot of tourism, is that a lot of their workforce housing is being gobbled up and used as short-term rentals. This would allow for a modest excise tax to go in the furnishment of those rentals, to go in at the local level to help support affordable housing and other community resource programs. Obviously, with all of the recent events, I was in the Emergency Operations Center call every day for weeks with the flood happening. And so now, of course, once we're back in session, we can pivot to recovery efforts. Had just met with Senator Orwell last week around what we can do for small businesses that are trying to recover after the flood and experience some tremendous loss. Additionally, I'll be working with the Treasurer's Office. There are a number of infrastructure loans that the Treasurer's Office offers that are not very well packaged or marketed to local governments to be able to help improve infrastructure, roads and other access points, making sure that we have proper storm drainage and sewage and water conveyance. So really trying to figure out how we can kind of pivot that. If you've met me for 5 minutes, you know that I love a state bank proposal. This is since it's an existing program that we can kind of thread together, really figure out if there's a way that we package that in a way that's more accessible to local governments. And then behind the scenes, I've been just what I've heard very consistently from both businesses and builders and folks that are trying to build daycare facilities is that there's a real disconnect when you need PSE or another energy company to show up and turn the lights on. I would like to know why that is. Port of Skagit has been having issues getting enough power supplied to their property. When I've heard it from, we just had a hearing about daycare centers and kind of what the impediments are to those getting built. I was just meeting with a marine shipbuilder, and they were having trouble getting enough power to their facility so that they could cold iron and stop running generators all night. So, and in addition to, we're going to start electrifying our ferries. So we really need to have a more robust kind of backbone of how we can build more electrical capacity for our businesses to be able to grow and thrive. On a fun note, one of the things that I'm working on is called the WAVE Act. For those of you that follow what's going on with our medium and large venues in Washington State, and as we all know, music venues, theater venues, these hub out so many small businesses in our communities, because then people are going out to drinks, they're going out to dinner, they're stopping at the local stores. And we've been having real issues with ticket scalpers, electronic ticket scalpers, fake parrot websites that are selling fraudulent tickets, all kinds of issues along those lines. And so we really want to make sure that we have a good regulatory atmosphere for our Attorney General's office to be able to enforce that those venues are being the recipient of those dollars, and that as a customer and as a fan, that we're able to get original ticket prices and not triple or quadruple marked up ticket prices. I know I probably am at time, but I will just say it's obviously a tough revenue year. I would love to see us take some more swings at progressive revenue so we can lower your B&O and lower your property taxes. Tough road to hoe, but that's my 2 cents. I think it's going to get dark in here, so we'll see how much more light if I can still see you guys.
Thank you, Senator Loveland. I don't know if we have Representative Lakanoff currently, and I do not believe that Representative Rimmel is here yet. So when he arrives, we'll give him his 4 minutes, and the same with Representative Lakanoff. If
Rep
good.
Paul just said Lekanoff's here.
Oh, good.
I don't. Here, let me see here.
And our mean muting person is.
Well, since I can't find her, I just changed it. She'll have to unmute herself.
No worries. It's great to see you. Thank you, Monique. I'm Representative Deborah Lakanoff. Sorry about the title. There, I'd left my Flickette name and my name and the big mountain that I come from. Thank you for the wonderful colleagues who just shared their incredible bills. I just want to point out Rep Lowe, Senator Wagner, Rep Paul, Representative Uslick, in case I missed any of the others, to my Skagit County It was absolutely incredible to see so many leadership standing together. Peter Donovan, I think he was there. Ron, being able to fly with General Welsh from Sumas all the way down to Snoqualmie and see the destruction that had happened to the businesses, to the homes, to the farmlands along the riversides. Thank you to the National Guard who came in. I know, many of you may have seen this, but when I walked into the Port of Skagit during the holidays, and there were 100 cots of young people there, military, filling sandbags, helping families, addressing critical situations, standing next to, Senator Wagner, standing next to many of our friends, especially Commissioner Weiss in there, who I've known for 20 years. It filled my heart of what community really was and what this great state was. I saw many pictures, many people in the news sharing their stories. When the governor first showed up in the Skagit, it was Rep. Lowe, Senator Wagner, and Representative Eslick standing there on the shorelines of Skagit next to Rep. Paul, all the work that you did in supporting on a bipartisanship on the flood walls. I too am looking to collaborate with Representative Eslick. Representative Lowe, thank you for helping me and giving me guidance. We know that our three commissioners during an emergency situation are dealing with critical decisions that are put into law that hinder them from coming together without a public disclosure and a public meeting. Representative Eslick and I did a quick call, and I think it was even Christmas Eve, Representative Eslick, where you and I were going to work together on a bill that helps relieve that notice for commissioners during emergency situations. Senator Wagner, I learned from the Skagit County Commissioners, you are also working on a similar bill. Senator Wagner, you and I have known each other for a good 20 years as well. It's not a surprise that Senator Wagner and I are working side by side without even talking to one another to find collaboration. I really appreciate that. Senator Wagner and I also finished last year our joint water task force on the Skagit, which will be coming out and providing the first and largest dash that's being provided on the science, policy, and regulations on water management on the Skagit, which we know is so important for our GMA, our agriculture, our in-stream flows, and also just for the wealth and well-being for everybody who's called the Skagit home for generations. We did that in bipartisanship. Senator Loveland has sat on the table. Representative Sean Peterson from Snohomish has sat at the table. Representative Paul, I've sat with you at the table. We've had so many different senator and representatives interested in how we manage water in the Skagit. It is an important topic, so I look forward to seeing with my friend Senator Wagner where we come up with the end and being able to provide that information. You all as the chamber know water is important for your growth. It's important for our communities, our fish, our soils. It's an important topic that I'll continue to work on. Couple other topics real quick. Senator Loveland and I have been working on a low sulfur fuel standard bill, which really isn't to hinder industry. It's to help industry grow, help industry maintain its environmental integrity to Washington State. But also with the good work of Liz, always reminding us if we're going to move forward in moving good policy, let's move good implementation plans. Let's make sure it's implementable. Let's not hinder industry. And that's what I so appreciate working with Senator Loveland on. We also are going to be working on a bill with, many of you may have known, the WEA is going to be working on a bill that allows those who have been a substitute teacher, a parapro, those who have been serving in a part-time employment. It takes 630 hours and 2 years in order to qualify to get insurance. Those of you saw how many of our Washingtonians fall off Medicaid with over 400,000 people looking for health care and the rise of healthcare prices across the state. Our teachers are the #1 people who take care of our children. For me, they helped raise me. When I was going through a challenging time as a little girl, it was a teacher who brought me extra boots, a teacher who brought me an extra raincoat, a teacher who held me when I cried. I still come from that time when teachers really matter. And whether you're a part-time teacher, a paralegal, someone who's helping, they deserve to have adequate health care. So I'll be working with Representative Birnbaum on that project this year. It's going to be a tough year. I applaud my colleagues across the aisle. I applaud my classmate, Representative Paul, and I, who came together, and my good Senator Lovelet. It's going to take us working together. It's not a time of, I told you so. It's not a time of, well, gosh, we could have, should have did, or we should have done. It's a time of what we can do now together. And it's 20 years of relationships with Senator Wagner. It's sitting next to Ron Weason when he was chair of the Community Action in Skagit. It's looking over and smiling at Sam Lowe when he leans over and he's like, great speech on the floor, Deborah. I hear you. We can work together. This is what we're going to need to do for Washington State. Whatever happens with the tax issues, the income tax, whether it's the House, the Senate, or the governor, it's going to be a meaningful discussion, and all of your voices matter. My door's always open. Andy, thank you for giving me a few minutes. Really appreciate being here.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciated how you thanked everyone else. So it's time for questions. If Rep. Ramo comes on, we'll give him a bit of time to say a few things. But other than that, let's go to questions. I see one in the chat. Jaden, would you like to ask it, or do you want me to ask it for you? Jaden probably has no way to respond to me, so I will ask the question. The question is that Jaden asks is, what efforts are being made to prevent data centers from building or operating in our region? With how important our water rights are and will become in this state, it is very important for myself and every other business owner I've spoken with that these data centers are banned from building or operating here. Protecting our area from the impact on our roads and infrastructure are other important factors in this. Anybody want to take that one on?
I can start.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Keith.
So I don't think anyone would even try to come here because that hill is too hard to climb with the amount of fighting and working together we've done on water. It's just not going to be available. It's not a viable place for them to come to. So I'm not aware of any that have applied for application to work here. If they have, I think that the county is going to have a very strong case to not allow them in. They don't have a water right. They would have to get one from somebody. And I don't know who would be willing to surrender water rights. It just seems very unlikely to me. But I think you're right to have your eye on this because if somebody does come for some reason, we need to be ready to push back on that. We just don't have the water for that type of thing. We're an agricultural community, a fishing community, and we need our water for that.
Yeah, I mean, I will say as a city council member, we put it in our comprehensive plan that you're not allowed to sublease or lease water rights out of the city of Anacortes, being the significant water purveyor of the valley. It's really hard to ban certain kinds of businesses. And that would, I mean, you're more likely to see a moratorium come from the county level than you are going to see from the state level. And there was just a big report. We had a significant work group that dealt with data center energy and water use consumption issues. That report was just published. I believe it was conducted through I can, if folks are interested, I can follow up and send it to you after this meeting. But we did just have a whole work session on it when we met with the joint energy committees. So you can look that up from our December 4th, 5th, and 6th committee days. I will say, there we had Representative Ibarra talk about the fact that a data center moved into Quincy, and that's the only reason they were able to keep their school open. So it's definitely one of those things that like different legislators feel very differently about it. But I would say, given the practical reality of how hard it is to just get a regular dose of power to the Port of Skagit, likelihood of being able to bring that much electricity to a single spot in Skagit County is not very high.
Yeah, can I tackle that too?
And I'll, go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, I just, I agree with the senator's remarks there. definitely work with your commissioners. Obviously, we have a new commissioner in Skagit now with Joe. Welcome him aboard, and I work forward to working with our three commissioners. But it's really the county commissioners that can really work on the land use and where these could be sited or not be sited. And so it's really more of a county commissioner type for that. I think my perspective even bigger is how we deal with these battery energy storage systems. They're trying to put these on farmland, trying to put these next to our waterways. We really need to gain some control on that. And so kind of part two to your question, if I can put that in there. So that's just my thoughts. Go ahead, Representative.
Thank you, Representative Lowe. I put the report that Senator Loveland was referring to, it's DOR's December 1st report, into the chat for all of you. Happy to send it out as well. And I wanted to remind us many of us in the legislature met with Bill Clark from Grant County, where we saw the data center impacts there that was created and the impact it had on their communities, whether it's their private water systems where they only had maybe 10 years worth of water left. It deeply impacted the water access for agriculture. The amount of community that came with housing, schools, healthcare, and et cetera, that grew out there so fast without any adequate support for it was really important. So I want to support my colleagues as they all share. This really is a local conversation at your GMA, and you're right, Senator Wagner, especially in the Skagit with water for farm, water for fish. This really, and for growth and for businesses, I think we've got a lot of things we need to take care of. Representative Lowe, I wanted to thank you also. The battery storage conversation at the local level with reference to your GMA, I think is going to be really important to have. The battery storage and the impacts to your environment, but the impacts in your protection of your farmlands and your waterways is also going to be vital. But again, our doors are always open. If you see something that can be changed in policy-wise, I think Senator Loveland sits on local government, and I believe our chair, Davina Dewars, out of Snohomish area, would be happy to take that. Thank you, Andy.
Yeah, thank you. Let's keep moving along. I'm getting questions from like three different directions. I think Lance Calloway is next, please.
Yes, thank you, Andy. My question's in regards to, there's been for several sessions discussion of affordable housing. Recently, actually this past summer, Governor Newsom out of California had scaled back and streamlined a lot of the California Environmental Quality Act in order to accelerate residential and commercial development. I would be interested in hearing any of our representatives and senators' thoughts on looking to do that here in Washington State, scaling back some of the environmental regulations that are kind of being proved to be unnecessary or too costly for the benefit. This would definitely increase the ability to not only build housing, but other commercial development for economic aspects.
Thoughts, anyone?
I'll jump in just a little bit, Rep Lowe, if you don't mind. Rep Lowe is the ranking member in the Housing Committee. I am a new member of the Housing Committee. Much appreciate the collaboration between Chair Peterson and Ranking Member Lowe. Lance, something that I found, and we've heard from developers, Liz, you've been working with the developers, Senator Loveland, on the streamline of permitting. The streamline of permitting to advance development so we can address housing. I think there are already environmental protections in there that are smart and safe. Don't build on waterways. Don't build in wetlands. Make sure you have your water and your infrastructure. I think the environmental ones that have put forward are going to help us, and you'll see me advocate this, protect the environment today, so your grandchildren's grandchildren aren't going to have to pay for the mistakes tomorrow. Don't overblow and grow like what happened in Grant County, where it's impacting your infrastructure. And you're right, Lance, it's not just the high cost of development and housing and slowing housing down. If you're going to grow and you're going to grow housing, how's that going to impact your healthcare, your school systems, right? Your transportation, all these important things that could take away for the people who've called that home for a very long time, right? So I hear you. I respect what you're saying. I think we have some environmental protections in the way that can continue to grow while we streamline our permits. But I'd like to hear from my colleagues Rep. Lowe and maybe Senator Loveland, who've been working in that development stage a lot longer than I have. I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, thank you, Lance, for the question. Great question. I was with the governor last week up in Skycomish trying to get Highway 2 open, and we went up, we met with the contractors there. They're doing great work, Granite Construction. And one of the things that I said, how are you doing all this stuff? And they said, we're doing it under the emergency order of the governor, and the governor is right there. And then we're applying for the permits after the fact. And so, you know, these rules and regulations and red tape are really making housing expensive. It's really slowing down building housing. We really need to cut these times down, cut the permit process time down, and really get people to work right away. It's incredible what they're doing to get Highway 2 open, but we need to use that same mentality to get housing started in this state. And so it's going to be a lot of discussions in Olympia this session on housing. I would encourage you to tune into those meetings because we'll be going full steam starting next week. And feel free to listen to those committee meetings as we discuss these things in a bipartisan way.
Well, it sounds like we need to declare a housing emergency then we can build.
100%.
Yeah, I would just exercise some caution there because the reason that we have a lot of regulations is because we have legacies of bad actors and promoting sprawl. So there are very good reasons why we want to encourage our growth to be in our urban centers where we have access to grocery stores and public transportation and toilets that flush and water that turns on from a municipal source. There's also good reasons why we don't want to build in critical areas and such. I mean, one of the issues that came up that was really near and dear to Skagit's heart was the proposed development at Avalon. This was something we were about to convert really important land into land use that it wasn't designated for. We've got some very real pressures. We don't want to be putting more people in the floodplain, as an example. I mean, there are some very real constraints that need to be there. But I would say the legislature has been working hard for multiple on trying to reduce bureaucracy wherever possible. One of the biggest impediments that we hear, though, and I will give you two pieces. One, they are understaffed at planning counters across Washington state. That is a very universal refrain, is that they are understaffed and they do not have the workforce to be able to staff up to get permits turned around. And the other piece that I would really like to see when we're in a rosier budget outlook is some real state resources going into local governments being able to update their development regulations. Comprehensive plans, GMA is all great. Those are the overarching guiding principles, but the development regulations are where the rubber meets the road. And for many jurisdictions, they keep adding on the new pieces of state law, but they don't necessarily go back and clean out the old books. And so then it leads to, two different areas in a chapter where they say two different things. A developer's interpreting one, the community's interpreting another, and now you have a situation where you're getting a land use appeal. What we need to do is make sure that we are permitting more by right uses in our jurisdictions, in our UGAs, to make sure that when somebody comes in with a proposal to do a multifamily unit, it's not getting appealed because we're already accounting for that growth.
Thank you. Let's go to Kristen Keltz, then Nikki, and then we'll go to Jessica's question. Kristen, you are muted.
There we go. Kristen Keltz with the Skagit Tourism Bureau. And first and foremost, I just want to say thank you to all of our representatives and senators. I don't think we realize how fortunate we are in Skagit County to have the accessibility and the collaboration amongst our different districts. So everybody's been just amazing. I just want to thank Representative Paul on your work on the Tourism and Hospitality Initiative. This is a really important piece of legislation that will help fund our tourism at a statewide level, which we are going to again be the lowest funded state, which will definitely impact some of our revenues as tourism brings in quite a bit of funding. So anything that we can do to help support that, we are happy to do, and just thank you for your work, all of your work.
Thank you. Really appreciate the kind words. And as the tourism folks came and talked to me in the fall. I appreciate you getting back to me quickly about hearing that that's a real priority for our community.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I am muted myself. Nikki Wagner, please.
Yeah, well, thank you. I'll just echo what Kristen said. I feel like so blessed to be here in Skagit with such amazing legislators. I think I've gotten to meet with each and every one of you alongside our famous David Wilder. So I just, again, want to urge you during, similar to what Kristen's message was, during a tight budget time, sometimes the things that are cut are the services that actually pay back into our system. And so please, consider not cutting employment services to people with disabilities or other barriers. Those are our taxpayers that we're helping support them, and employment is their livelihood and also the livelihood of our county. So thank you.
Thank you, Nikki, very much. Question from Jessica Espy is, the governor's proposed, it moved on me. The governor's proposed budget includes roughly 30 million for wildfire related investments. From your perspective, how will those funds be prioritized across prevention, forest health treatments, suppression capacity, and community resilience? And how confident are you that the funding level is sufficient given current fire risk trends? And for rural employers, housing availability and transportation are now workforce constraints. How is the state accounting for these non-wage barriers when designing workforce and economic development policy? That's a good and complex question. Any thoughts?
I'll go with the first part with our fire funds and answer the last question first, which is it enough? It's not going to be enough. But we are lucky to have the ask in the governor's budget. So I suspect, especially the state-run lands, Department of Natural Resources will allocate that money in a way that makes sense to them. I know over the past couple of sessions, we put a lot of investment into aviation assets and to new sensor technology that finds fires quicker so we can get them out quicker. So that's just the after you've got a fire portion of it. Where I hope a lot of the money goes, and I will try and work with the Public Lands Commissioner on this, is to maintaining our forests. And I would say the state does a much better job than the federal government does. So that's a problem for us. You can have a well-thinned, well-managed section of Department of Natural Resources land or even private logging land, and it runs up against federal forest that is not maintained. So if theirs catches on fire, we suffer the consequences. I hope that we are working with the U.S. Forest Service. I talked to Commissioner Updegrove about this, and he is working hard to open those channels so that we can work better together between the Forest Service and our own state lands. So it's a complicated thing. I'm glad the governor is budgeting for it. Will it ever be enough? No, it's kind of like everything else. There's an infinite number of great ideas and deserving causes out there. We don't have infinite dollars.
Any other thoughts on that? Let's go with a question from Jaden. Jaden, I can read it, or you can, but I can't see you, so I will read the question. We have a housing issue with many of our homes being left empty due to them being treated as investment assets. What can we do to combat non-resident and foreign investors taking up viable housing options that already exist, but are kept empty, resold, and artificially driving up general market rates?
Yeah, I'll jump in on this one. I did put it in the chat as well. One of the major constraining factors that is unique to Washington State is our uniformity clause, that all property must be treated with the same level of taxation, all real property. And so Believe me, we have been kicking that idea around for a long time. Would love to have a vacancy tax, would love to have ways of dealing with that. One of the options that we explored as a city council was the idea that you would charge, because, if you're snowbirding and you're gone for 4 months out of the year, you still have to pay for your garbage service, whether you're going to get picked up or not. We were trying to figure out if there was a way that like a minimum water usage would trigger a different utility rate to bring in local level competition that is really for one state. But that is part of why I'm trying to do the short-term rental excise tax, because a lot of those folks, instead of just leaving them empty, are now having a property management company run them for them in their absence. And at least that would be bringing in local dollars to help build more affordable.
Thank you. I see that Lance Calloway has another question. Lance, please.
Yes, thank you, Andy. In light of the recent flooding, one thing that I came across an article and created some questions that with a large share of our Climate Commitment Act being reported about the greenhouse reduction is kind of severely overstated, with one report reporting almost 86% of the claimed CO2 reductions are likely inaccurate. But how should, the legislature respond to concerns about transparency and the actual effectiveness of the CCA investments? And kind of piggybacking on that, with the recent flooding that we've experienced, should we have a greater portion of the CCA funds, as we're generating billions of dollars, but have more of that go towards more urgent flood mitigation efforts in Skagit County and other counties?
I'll jump in on that to start because I have to go. I'm trying to only turn my light on so I don't run my battery down while I'm here. So I saw that report. I was just reading it earlier today. It is by Todd Myers, who is a notoriously very, very far right leaning commentator. I am sure I'm not trying to suggest that the initial ecology report didn't have some inaccuracies, but as the person who's coordinating the Climate Commitment Act budget for the Senate, I can tell you the money that we're putting out there are absolutely to mitigate climate change. They're to reduce greenhouse gas. One of the things that we invested in was floodplains by design. We put somewhere in the neighborhood of $9 million up in Whatcom County to help them complete the floodplain by design projects. This to help channelize the Nooksack, make sure that areas like Sumas, Everson, others are not receiving as much flood damage. We've still got a lot of work to do on that, but I'll just remind folks, this is a deliberately self-canceling tax. It is only going to be around for another handful of years before it will not exist anymore. We're trying to be really mindful. Transportation is statutorily obligated to get a certain amount. And then from there, it goes to operating and capital. We are trying to make sure that we are maintaining our operating budget obligations and that we are investing wisely our capital dollars. I mean, again, as Senator Wagner was saying, the need is always going to outstrip the revenue source. We could put the entirety of it into firefighting or into wildfire prevention if we want to put it there. We could do the entire thing in just building decarbonization if we want to put it there. I mean, there's always going to be more need than there are resources, but we did put a significant chunk of change into floodplains by design for exactly that purpose.
Thank you. We have a question from Liz Jennings, and I'm quite sure, Liz, I can't do it justice, but I will read it. Hello. Liz Jennings from Community Action here. As our state representatives and senators know, senior nutrition programs in Skagit County are in transition, and the food banks that partner with Community Action's Food Distribution Center experienced big spikes in need during the recent SNAP crisis and flood events. So the question is, who of you in our delegation are championing food security resources, and what state policies will help move forward in the 26th session to keep our everyday and emergency food systems strong? And she thanks you for your leadership.
I'll tackle it. Really, this is a situation that we need to tackle at the local level, cities, counties, and the state level. It's not just going to be the state, and then also the federal level too. Most of our funding, most of our food resources come from the federal government. But counties and cities have also taken a big load and big responsibility. Obviously, I don't live in Skagit County. I live in Snohomish County, so I'm more focused on the food network in Snohomish County. Um, I got $1.5 million to get the Lake Stevens Food Bank going, which is right in the heart and the center of the 39th district. I've worked with our other local food banks. I've worked with the VOA. But I don't want to say I'm not in tune with what's happening in Skagit County. I regularly go to our food banks in Skagit County when we had our federal, people weren't working federally. I went up to our food bank in Cedar-Woolley. I didn't make a big deal about it, but I gave a significant donation to the food bank in Cedar-Woolley. So it's going to take all of us, local, county, state, and federal, to work on this. I guess that's the way I can open that up.
Yeah.
Other thoughts?
I just want to tag on there too. I think that the answer to part of your question is who's advocating. I think all of us are at some level. We all understand that food security is a problem, and we're all working towards that now. It comes again, some of it is state funded, a lot of it's local funded. When the Cedar Woolley Helping Hands Food Bank was just a sketch on a napkin, and I was a freshman, we brought back $500,000 to complete that structure. But most of the money, honestly, was raised locally. It was people in the community that cared about it. Some of our big businesses, Janicki Industries and others, gave a lot to make that happen. Uh, we have facilities, manning them and filling them up with food are the hard things, and we're all aware of that. And I appreciate the fact that you do that work for community action. It helps people, especially like a time right now when we have people who lost everything in the flood. You are a critical agency, so people thank us. I'd like to thank you, Liz, for the work you do there.
Well said. I believe we're out of time, but wow. I just would like to reiterate that how special it is to work in an area where people and legislators work together. That is unusual, as I think many of you know. And when there's a crisis as we've had, that is necessary. And it didn't seem like anybody was trying to take credit. Just get it done. So it's fantastic. Well, legislators, thank you. Good luck in your work. I'm not sure I envy you, but we will stay in touch, and please let us know if there's something that's important to you, and we will do the same.
Hey,
Thank you.
just in
Go ahead.
closing real quick, Andy, just want to
Yes.
say thank you. Sorry, I don't mean to interject,
No,
Rep.
no.
Paul. Congratulations to Skagit County on your new commissioner. I just saw that. I see Commissioner Browning there. Best of luck to you all. Doors always open. Congratulations. Thank you, Andy.
Thanks, everyone.
Good to see everybody.
We'll see you soon.
Thank you.